We all experience fear, right? It's just part of being human. But what if I told you there's a completely different way to look at it? In this explainer, we're going to dive into the perspective of Sanatana Dharma, one of the oldest wisdom traditions on the planet, to find a path to fearlessness that's, well, it's probably not what you're expecting.
All right, so let's just jump right in with a pretty wild idea. What if fear isn't some big, scary monster we have to fight? What if it's not an enemy to be conquered, but just a simple misunderstanding, a case of mistaken identity? That's the question we're going to unpack together.
So to make sense of all this, here's the game plan. First, we're going to figure out why we fear in the first place. Then, we'll look at the chains of separation, how this whole thing takes hold. After that, the good stuff, the path to fearlessness, and some real practical things you can do for inner freedom. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about what it means to remember who you truly are. Okay, so this is it. This is really the key to the whole thing. According to these ancient teachings, fear isn't really about what's happening out there in the world. It's about what we believe in here. It's basically a symptom of spiritual amnesia. We just forgot who we are. All right, let's put on our detective hats and start our diagnosis. In this first part, we're going to dig deep and figure out where this fear really comes from, not just psychologically, but right down to the level of the soul. So at the very heart of this is a single, super important word from Sanskrit, avidya. Now this translates to ignorance, but hold on, it's not what you think. It's not about being unintelligent. It's a deep, fundamental mistake. Believing that you are your body, your thoughts, your feelings, this temporary person, instead of your true, eternal self, the Atman. It's kind of like getting so lost in a movie that you forget you're sitting on the couch and start believing you're actually the hero in danger on screen. In this ancient quote, man, it just nails it. Where there is duality, there one sees fear. The second you create an I that's separate from everything else, you've created the possibility of a threat. The moment you see yourself as a tiny, separate me in this huge, vast universe, well, that's when fear shows up at the door. It has to. Okay, so how does this actually work? How do we get from this simple misunderstanding to the real, gut-wrenching fear we feel in our lives? Let's follow the breadcrumbs and see how this chain of separation gets forged. It's actually a pretty logical chain reaction. Check this out. Step 1 is duality, that feeling of being a separate thing. From there, step 2, the ego is born, our identity as that separate thing. Then, step 3, that little ego tries to make itself feel safe and happy by getting attached to things, people, possessions, ideas. And because all of that stuff can be lost, you get step 4, fear. It's a domino effect. And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? Our fear is directly tied to how tightly we're holding on to stuff. The more we cling to things that, by their very nature, can't last, like our reputation, our money, even our own physical bodies, the more we're going to be terrified of losing them. It's like we're trying to build a fortress on quicksand. Of course we're going to be anxious. The Bhagavad Gita just says it so bluntly, you can't miss it. Wherever there is attachment, there is fear. It's not a maybe, it's a guarantee. They're two sides of the very same coin. You literally can't have one without the other. So this really paints a picture of two different selves living inside us, right? On one side, you've got the ego. It thinks it's the body and the mind. And you know what? It's right to be afraid, because it can be destroyed. It fears death, because for the ego, that's game over. But then, there's the soul, the Atman. That's who you really are. It's eternal. It was never born, so it can never die. It's totally beyond harm. The real question is, which one are you listening to? And listen to this. Just imagine hearing these words. Krishna is saying this to the warrior Arjuna, who is literally trembling with fear on a battlefield. He says, you are eternal. You were never born. You will never die. He's not talking about Arjuna's body or his personality. He's talking about that core of awareness inside him and inside you that is timeless. Okay, so we've looked at the problem, we've diagnosed the disease, but what's the cure? Well, that's what we're getting into now. This isn't a prescription for the mind or the body. This is a prescription for the soul itself. And right away, this is where things get really interesting. The path isn't about fighting fear. It's not about being brave or toughing it out. Nope. It's about dissolving it with the light of wisdom. I love that analogy. You don't fight a shadow, you just turn on the light. It completely changes the game. So the big question is, how do we flip that switch? How do we turn on the light? Well, that's what this next part is all about. The actual practices, the tools we can use to find that inner freedom. And you'll see it all comes down to one thing: remembering who we really are. So, practice number one, and this is the big one, is Atmagyan, the wisdom of the self. And really, it's just the practice of remembering, consciously, intentionally remembering who you really are. It can be as simple as closing your eyes when you feel that anxiety creep in and just telling yourself, I am not this body, I am not this fear, I am the eternal self. It's about shifting your identity back to the truth. I mean, how powerful is that imagery? Weapons cannot cut you, fire cannot burn you. When you really let that sink in, that your true essence, the real you, is completely untouchable, what's left to be afraid of, really? Okay, practice 2 is called Ishvara Pranidhana. Big word, simple idea. Surrender the outcome. So much of our stress, our fear, comes from trying to control everything, right? This practice is all about doing your absolute best and then letting go. Let's say you're going for a dream job. You polish that resume, you prep like crazy, you give the interview of your life, and then you release it. You just let it go. You free yourself from the anxiety of waiting for that phone call. And again, this is a core idea in the Gita. Abandon all attachment to results. When you do that, the fear of failing just evaporates because you've changed the rules of the game. Success isn't about getting the job anymore. Success was in doing your best with a clear heart. It's a total reframe. And the cool thing is, there isn't just one way to get there. It's like different trails all leading up the same mountain. You can live in Dharma, acting from your true purpose, which gives you this incredible inner strength. You can cultivate bhakti, or devotion, connecting your heart to the divine and feeling totally protected. You can meditate, dhyana, to actually experience that feeling of oneness. Or you can simply practice accepting impermanence, constantly reminding yourself that anything that changes isn't the real you. So, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? But if you boil it all down, all these practices, all this wisdom, it comes back to one simple, powerful idea: just remembering who you are. And this is it. If you remember one thing from our time together, let it be this: fear is just a symptom of amnesia. That's all it is. It's the soul forgetting, just for a moment, how infinitely powerful and indestructible it really is. So the cure isn't to fight the fear, it's to cure the amnesia. So I want to leave you with a question, something for you to really think about. If fear is just this big misunderstanding, who would you be without it? What would you be capable of? How would you show up in the world? Really think about that. Thanks for exploring this with me.